Sumit, it's a pleasure to have you with us. How have you been?
Good, Ashu. Good to see you again, and nice catching up. It's been due, and thanks you mentioned other day, and I never expected we'll get calls so soon from you. So thanks for having us here.
No, Sumit. I think it was it's our pleasure to have you with us. I think there's some very interesting work, disruptive work that you're doing, and I think we very firmly at Asia Tech believe that. Essentially, what you look at is a lot of narrative which is being built around companies that are essentially funded, right, and around funding, right. But I think what is important is that you start to think deeper on the solutions aspect, right, in terms of what's happening, what's not happening, and I think that's essentially what we're geared towards, at Asia Tech, right. I think it is founder first in that sense, right, and I think that's essentially what we want to talk about. That's what we want to discuss in the process. And it's good to have you with us, right? So, but Sumit, before
Thanks.
we dive into the session today, which is going to be fairly detailed, right, and deep dive about many aspects of higher ed, right, and how Copy Kitab is kind of solving that. I'd love you to take us through, your journey as a professional, right? You've been there, you've done that before you jumped into doing this, right? Take us through some bits of that, and then we move into the session today.
Actually, my background is typical. Coming from a smaller town,
Sure.
aspiring for a dream job after college,
Right.
and fortunate enough, I got my dream job, which was at Coca-Cola India, early days of Coke in India.
Right.
So close to 13 years, I worked in corporates, majorly FMCG and then high-end retail.
Right.
My first two job was with Coke and 3M, and then I moved to US for 5.5 years with a luxury retail. It was a startup.
Right.
And Coke and 3M, learned how competitive that industry is.
Right.
And how we work, and especially in Coke early, that was my first job and fastest learning. If I
Right.
look back, it was the fastest learning school I had in my career. So working for 18 hours, 16 hours, it's very competitive. Early days of paper, Coke and Pepsi, a street
Right.
fight kind of thing,
Right.
and fighting for every inch and every percentage of market share.
Right.
And I was in Delhi, where we had our corporate office. So North Territory. So every day, it was a different kind of game for us.
Right.
So learned a lot from Coke, then moved to 3M. 3M India, again home care division for central part of India.
Right.
Started the operations from scratch, right from setting up CNFs to putting up team over there for distribution. Right. Started from basic SKUs. Nobody knows if Scotch Brite is a 3M product, because nobody knows what 3M is, because
Right.
brand and product is not same.
Right.
Unlike Coke, we had very high identity. It is before Google days, when it was
Right.
most renowned phrase was Coke after OK.
Absolutely.
So very high recognition, and then you are in different industry but more organized. So that's why in 3M we focus more on system and processes. I did a couple of Six Sigma projects with 3M.
Right.
Learned how to solve problems, real problems, using technology and using Six Sigma thought process. So that was awesome journey with after Coke, from sales and then marketing stint in Coke also. Then moved to 3M again in sales.
Right.
And launching again a couple of brands and products, setting up a whole distribution network.
Right.
Thinking from Six Sigma point of view.
Right.
Then I got an opportunity to move to US as a startup vertical for the company.
Right.
And my job was to head a retail vertical for the company, starting from scratch, right. Okay. From a scouting location,
right.
Putting sales team and whole operation team, and turning them into profit center, because we had our target market was cruise ship destinations,
right.
which was all Caribbean, all Alaska, all Mexico.
Right.
So very exotic location. So I was happy to get this opportunity that, I'm in all exotic places of the world and I'm getting paid for it.
Right.
And I used to fly close to 100,000 miles a year that time.
My God. Okay.
So JFK was my next home. Every week I'm just flying and running away
Right.
to different destination. But it was good learning, because we travel more, we learn a lot.
Right.
So I was working, I was traveling a lot and learned a lot over there. And different nationalities, each islands, those cruise ship destinations was owned by different countries. Some are British islands, some are French islands, some are Dutch islands, some are American islands. So different rules, different region, a lot of challenges. And then you have huge limitation in terms of resources, because it is an island. Right. So that gave me huge learning in terms of those 5 years was like everyday FMCG kind of thought process, and business run, because you have huge capital investment in each of the ports and locations, because you are in luxury retail. So you have huge capital investment. So you have to think on, and seasonality business.
Right.
So when season is over, before that you have to make whole money for that location and year, because you have to keep playing employee, because if summer hits, then Caribbean is dead.
Right.
And come winter, Alaska is dead, for example. So
Right.
that way, then working on right from all operational thing as a head of profits, running profit center, I scaled the business to
Right.
$400 million. By the time, within 5 years' time,
Right.
became number two brand in whole Caribbean.
Right.
So from zero store to scale to 42 stores within those period of time.
Very
It's
interesting.
a pretty good, interesting learning I had.
Right.
And I had, people used to think like I have very glamorous lifestyle. Yes, it was fortunate. I was fortunate to have, lived and seen that life.
Right.
But I don't have to. After coming a startup, that aspiration was not there. That, oh, I wish I had that. So
Right.
fortunately, learned business. I had a privilege of working with good leaders, learned a lot from them, and that helped me to run this business over
Very
here,
interesting.
Kapitan.
Very interesting.
So this is my small journey, and
So
similar with Amit also.
interesting, interesting. So how did Copy Kitab happen, right? I think there is some very interesting work that you're doing. So tell me a little more about Copy Kitab and tell me a little more about how it happened, right? From being, from working with Coke, from working with 3M, and all of a sudden then moving into say an edutech sector. And I think pre 2020, I think this was a sector which many people have their doubts around, right? It wasn't the most glamorous sector, right? It was not something which was moving as fast as the transition that we've seen, right, in just about a
Yes.
year, right? Tell us a little more about that bit, right? How did Copy Kitab happen, and a little more about the product.
Sure. So you rightly said, Ashu, to begin with, it was certainly not glamorous industry to be in.
Right.
And I came from glamorous industry.
Right.
So fortunately, being there, done that kind of situation was there for me. So what I was thinking of, not related to glamour or not related to anything else, but
Right.
mine and Amit, because of our previous discussion, me and him were already always in discussion and talks, like
Right.
normal chit chat of lives. And
Right.
whenever I used to talk somebody back in families or friends and family or immediate family, we used to hear same people cribbing about education system, like this is not there, that is not happening, this.
Right.
So we realized like nothing has changed where we left from.
Right.
We moved, and coming from a smaller town, we got lucky. We had opportunities, and
Right.
Sunny School gave me survival instinct. So I moved on and then did whatever I could have done, and then
Right.
we landed there.
Right.
But in terms of education, wherever we used to hear, like it's still same problem. Getting right stuff in the right point of time, getting
Right.
right teacher whenever they need it, getting right resources. Is a challenge. So we
Right.
thought of like, a lot can be done by technology. That's where me and Amit had a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still same, and I think there's a huge need of technology solving some problem of that.
Right.
So we thought like education is one of the best sector to work on, because in India, it's close to people's heart. After food, their first thing is focus is education for
Okay.
their kids.
Yeah. Right.
And if this is a problem and very fragmented and very fragmented and unorganized, every geography you will see different pattern, different behavior. Metro
Right.
guy have more option, but they are more commuting problems are there, and then small towns they don't have at all.
Right.
So we thought of like let's solve a problem with content to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a basic thing everyone learns from.
Right.
So what before I give you the journey, like I just tell you what we evolved as a company is we
Sure.
became one full stack solution for any student. Because if
Okay.
you see typical journey of a student, right from our days to today, there's nothing different when I'm saying that.
Right.
We need a right author or textbook which has been prescribed by the school or teacher or
Right.
seniors, whatever. Then we are not sure of, so we try to get photocopies from campus, or your classmate who's topper,
Right.
try to get his photocopies, and we try to get it. This is the
Right.
second thing. Then still you're not enough sure of, so you try to get some kunjis and guides.
Right.
Right. So everybody's not going after getting top in the class. So if somebody was, I just want to pass off.
Right.
There different class of students are there. Then you need, if you're still not sure of, not confident, then you try to learn from a local teacher who's famous there.
Right.
In that market, sir, please पढ़ा दीजिए, maths नहीं समझ में आ रहा types.
Right.
So we evolved as a platform that to take care of your whole learning journey.
Right.
And it has to be curated and relevant, because you are in content industry, so you will understand what curation means.
Right.
So if you see, so what happens eventually in Indian industry, number one, when relevant content is not there, it leads students very much confused.
Right.
They keep running here and there. If you're in Delhi, you go to Nai Sadak and all that stuff to find something, and you try to save some cost, right?
Right.
Then you try to get fetch some photocopy, or some friends give you some. Nowadays on phone, somebody take photo and share with you on WhatsApp.
Right.
Or teachers does that. And then when you are not able to get a good teacher, so you lose interest in that subject. If you
Right.
look back, whatever subjects we are good at, fortunately we had a good teacher in that subject.
Right.
That's why we excelled in that subject. So we thought, like, because of this reason, when a student his interest get lessen on any subjects, so it eventually leads him to not so well versed in that subject. Then he becomes weaker in that subject, and she loses interest in that subject, and eventually it impacts their career.
Right.
So we thought, like, one by one we can have this thing. So that's how we started with content. Idea was like, we'll have a curated content strategy, going out and partnering with publishers. So it is the toughest path we choose. A lot of people try to avoid that and tried, and then they couldn't track it, so they skipped that way.
Right.
And why we get inspired, that this something people could relate with.
Right.
And there are company in the US, China, UK, and now in Australia, who did good in procuring content from publishers. It's been proven, but nobody did in India. So we did that. So we ventured in that market and start partnering with publishers. Idea was, once we get partners with publishers, so nobody knows market better than them.
Correct.
In India. So idea was, one, we'll have that branded content, and second, we'll know the market faster than anybody else there. So we'll learn from them. So that was the strategy behind, reaching out to publishers and getting the content. It took us, a lot of time, and I myself did personally. Initial 100 publishers, I spent, 3 weeks in straight in Delhi, street, Nice Sadak and Ansari Road streets.
Yeah,
Daryaganj.
Right.
So that's why I know every top publishers to every local publishers. Most of the people knows me. All the owners knows me now. They are good friends. So we are in touch, and so this is where we started off. Second, we thought, now we are accumulating content. Now we should know what kind of content is relevant in what kind of market, and we didn't have bandwidth and investment to go B2C path. Early days of India, if you remember, it was all about downloads and throwing money and getting downloads.
Correct. This was 14,
15. So 15, 16, and we didn't have that kind of money. So we thought, let's go B2B, and we'll get paid by campuses. We'll get to know about campuses and their consumption pattern. And going B2B approach, we'll have B2B2C. So we'll acquire students knowing what kind of requirements are there.
Which I think is a very low CAC model.
Yeah, exactly. And but cycle is a bit longer.
Right.
So we thought, like, one low CAC model, making money while acquiring students, and getting know deeper about the campus.
Right.
Because later we realized that every campus has a different consumption pattern.
Right.
We keep on talking, like, every edtech you will hear, one side doesn't fit all. But what you are doing to do that?
Absolutely.
You talk about that one side doesn't fit all, but you are trying to push same thing for everyone.
Right.
But when it's not in terms of a studying pattern or this, you get to know them better and deeper. Like, okay, one campus studying only from for example, DTU. A lot of kids study from textbooks and multiple textbooks and then notes.
Right.
Versus you go to a nearby campus in Jaipur or somewhere in Noida, they will be studying a lot from notes and guides and maybe support material or PowerPoints and all that.
Right.
So you need to know what university, what campus is consuming which pattern, and you have to give them what they can relate with. It could be author, it could be pattern, it could be variety, whatever it is. But it has to be there. If you want to be successful in e-commerce, it has to be there for them. Then only they're going to come. So coming back to the B2B strategy, we took, it took us some time reaching out to campus, and every campus used to come out like, I want this publisher or this content additionally. Can you tweak this technology platform a bit on that?
Right.
So we did a lot on technology stack for security point of view, because every publisher wanted to have a which is called DRM, digital rights management, for IP security of the content. We had to, while working with the publisher, there was no existing model in India. So we had to derive this module, which has to be win-win for students, which is our customer, publisher, and Copy Kitab, all the three stakeholders.
Right.
So we had to work out on the pricing model, revenue model for this industry in India, because we had to Indianize a lot. As I mentioned, like, there was a successful company in US, they're like Chegg.com, CHEGG. One of the founders was Indian, Ayush Kumra. So having close watch, spoken to Ayush, learned from them what they did beautifully in US. Now it's a public company. Last year they did $600 million top line. And then there's a company called Course Hero in US. It's again a unicorn, and they did do only notes.
Right.
So we had to Indianize a lot. There are two reasons. One is we know, being from a smaller town, we know that like different behavior is there, and one of the biggest learning during Coke days was that we came to India, and within 2 years we have to write off, that time in 98 and 2000s we had to write off $400 million consecutive 2 years.
Right.
That time $400 million was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, yes.
Yeah, still today, but nowadays you hear a lot of 500 $400 million deals, so it sounds like it's a smaller amount.
Yeah.
So it is not. So, but that time, it was a huge amount, and it was unheard of in Indian corporate world.
Right.
So then Coke adopted a strategy called think globally, act locally.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a learning I had my early days of Coke. So we thought like, this is what we have to do in education, because every geography you go, and as we got deeper through B2B approaches, we realized it has to be a lot of customization, and we have to be in very close touch with our students. We have to go after them, like what they are looking after. So me and Amit made it a point, like we'll be in touch with our students and consumer constantly, so that when we think about scaling with the business, we'll know what they're looking for.
Very
then
interesting.
So by that time we already have like close to 50 100 odd campuses using our platform and accessing our content stuff and all. Then we kept adding more publishers, different languages, different regional geographies, different regional publishers also, and then we started doing different languages. And then we raised our seed round also while doing that, angel round and seed round. Unfortunately, having a couple of my school friends who were good entrepreneurs, we had great learning. So they told me like, Sumit, is very important whom not to take money from versus whom to take from.
I so agree with that.
So fortunately, we got very good quality of investors, angels, and seed that at that stage.
Right.
So very well-known faces from Indian corporate world we got as angel investors, and then we raised, and we thought like whether we should scale on B2B or we should pivot a bit and go full guns on B2C side. So 2018 we decided we'll go on B2C side, focus more on this thing, so that what Czech did beautifully in US or those companies, we can leverage that.
Right.
And we can have early movers advantage in the Indian market, because one of the largest population in India only for students.
Right.
So we start working on B2C side, and within 1 year, Amit has his specialty. He's very good into organic, and we had internal discussion at the management level. We don't have money to throw in the market for getting downloads.
Right.
So whatever is to be done is to be done through organic traffic. So having that fortune of that kind of quality of team who worked and believed on our vision and dream, that we'll be having organic only, because we cannot throw million downloads and $1 million kind of investment, for example. I'm not saying that much amount. So we didn't have that kind of money. So we thought like we'll take this strategy, and we started working on B2C approach, and again learning from these existing investors. I learned that in same sequence you should have execution. One is first user acquisition, second is engagement, third is monetization. Don't overlap and jump around any of the sequence.
Right.
So we said, okay, let's first focus on acquisition.
Right.
And we started acquiring students. Paralleling, after hitting 1 million user base, we thought like now we start focusing on parallelly engagement side.
Right.
And that's how we start focusing on engagement side. And Ashu, we are really proud after having 8 million downloads today and 6.1 million registered users.
Right.
We are having one of the highest engagement metrics in the country.
That is amazing.
When you speak to a lot of people, they might try to shy away from this question on engagement metrics or some big number, but on our Google Analytics base, our avid readers, our power readers, and our returning user base. Right. It's pretty decent. So I'll tell you in that, because that is not the question I was answering to.
Sure.
I'll come to that part later on.
No, I think so. That's been phenomenal. I mean, I think the kind of journey that you've had is so amazing, right? I mean, and I think a couple of times, you mentioned that, coming from a tier 2 city, and how I come from a tier 2 city, right? And I know what you essentially mean, right? Because, the thinking pattern is very different, right?
Yes.
You're thinking efficiency all the time, you're thinking limited. I mean, there are resource constraints that, always play in your mind. right? And I think there are so many things that kind of, while you're saying that, I can actually relate with a lot of this, right?
Exactly.
And this is a common constant across many founders that you come across tier two cities, right? Because this is what they focus on, right? They focus on a lot of efficiency. They focus on, I think observation works beautifully well, right? Also the fact that, if you come from a tier two city, which is something that I observe, right? Urban markets operate in a completely different way,
Yeah.
right? But today, I think Bharat and tier two cities and downwards, right, work in a completely different way, right? And that's a very large market itself, right? We'll come to more of that, Sumit, as we go along. But my particular question, which I actually wanted to sort of to give more context to what we're talking about, right? I actually wanted you to take us the landscape of how large is this market, right? This is something I'm sure you've dissected across many layers, right? Would love to hear your thoughts on how large is this market, right? And what's the kind of overall, say, for example, time that the student is spending, right, referring to all of these materials and so on and so forth, right? So I just want to understand how large is the opportunity, how large the LTV possibility, right, across this particular area within the higher ed segment, right? If you could take me through that.
Sure, it's good you mentioned that higher education, because this is what we are focused at as a company. Sure. So if you see, you won't find a lot of companies in higher ed, other than somebody is doing LMS or somebody is doing right. ERPs and this. So and before I exact answer to your question, sure. Why higher ed? Because when we started doing something in all the content, and we pivoted to higher education, we realized, like, after talking to our customer and users, and again relating to our days, or any middle class or small town guys there out there, everybody is working so hard during their 11th and 12th to land in good college, because that is where your career is secured, right? And that's why everybody is striving to get into good college, because higher education is all about career, right? Whatever careers he or she may choose, but you need that kind of ecosystem. So this is that's why we chose, like, here it's all about future people are aspiring for, and we should be there to help them out. Right. Now, coming to your question of, like, the market size, the user base side, and all that stuff. So in higher education, as of now in India, you have 40 million students. Right. And in 40 million students, most of them want support in every step. Unlike K-12, where you see, okay, 300 million students, but if you churn out all government school and everything, how many of them are left out, which are your potential customers, which is your TG, right? So, and who can pay 40-50K kind of fee for, additional support resources and whatever. So we thought of, like, higher education, number one is people are focused on career, and they want to make their own, whatever strata they come from, as a government college or private college or whatever level. Right. So their requirements are similar. Yes, Bharat, what we are referring to. So they have very high aspirations, because they have limited access and they have bigger dreams. Right. They want to join their friends in bigger cities and bigger towns.
There's pent up demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that is one. Two is, in higher education, unlike why you have bigger opportunity to grow, because, unlike K-12, you don't have to convince somebody to make your decision. You are making your own decisions. Right from choosing the content to choosing the tutor to choosing anything, you have your own choice, and nothing has been imposed by your board or somebody else that, okay, you have to study this way only. Right. So you have a lot of freedom based on what campus you are in. Sure. So 40 million students are there in India. Close to 5,700 campuses are there, institutions are there in India, besides private universities and all that. And they spend, combining all unorganized and every sector, they spend close to 80 billion on everything a year. Wow. Right. Everything. So this is the kind of spending happening in higher education, right from tuition fee to, buying laptops to transportation to accommodation, everything. Yeah. So I'm not saying that is the market side, but I think there's kind of spending is there. So people have money to spend upon. Now, coming back, how much they are spending on learning resources. Right. So they spend, last year has been forecasted that, in higher education itself, on EdTech per se, the spending on 2024, so 2022 would be around to $1.08 billion. Right. it sounds very small amount, but if you see in terms of the potential and the spending,
right?
So you can see the phenomena happening in terms of spending when these kids are moving out of K-12, handholded by different ed tech companies for different stuff. Then they are
Right.
moving to college, they should have something available for them. That
Right.
is number one. Number two, every 6 months, whenever you are seeing industry forecasting, being in an industry, you would be keeping close step. Every six
Right.
months, the market forecast size is changing.
Right.
Number three, in India, still we are scratching the surface.
Right.
If you see US already close to $1 trillion
Right.
forecasting happening there in US market, then Europe, then other parts of the world. And in terms of investment also. So still we are far, they are far ahead of us, and having largest population in the world, still we need
Right.
to catch up a lot in that segment. In terms of LTV, Ashu, you asked about besides market size, which is expanding every 6 months. In terms of LTV, we have this advantage of acquiring students from junior college days, which is 11, 12 grades, and taking up to graduation day, and some of them may choose to go to post graduation. So it ranges from 3 to 6 years for us.
Interesting.
Which is very high LTV. So copy kitab model, I would say that we have bottoms up approach. So whenever you're talking to some company in future, you'll understand difference, and probably you may have a question to ask what strategy you take, bottoms up or top down approach.
Right.
So bottoms up approach advantage we do have that we are handholding with LTV, because since you asked about LTV, so this answer comes into my mind.
Right.
That you are handholding the students from early days. So you have bottoms up approach, so you understand them better, you know them better, and you understand what they are looking for.
Right.
And that's where you have high LTV, chances of having high LTV with the students, and you don't spend huge capital acquiring new user every year.
Right.
In bottoms up approach.
Interesting.
In top down approach, every year you have to acquire new user. Every year you have to spend huge capital on that.
Right.
And every year you keep bombarding them that, okay, I am better than this, better than anybody out there, and please come to me for that.
Right. I think Sumit, when I hear you, right, and I think what you mentioned, right. So I think the early part of the conversation was essentially where, how is it that you are focused on the higher ed segment, right, and how are you empowering the student in terms of their materials and and notes and all of the ecosystem, right, which was available around them to. I think what I hear you saying is that from an acquisition strategy, when you're saying, and when you're kind of trying to define the LTV of your model, you're essentially talking about the student which is in class 11th and 12th, right, and onwards, right. Now these are two very different markets, right. The 11th and 12th market is completely different, and of course then it's also plagued by a lot of test prep market and so on and so forth, right. And I think the other market, which is possibly your core, I think is a very different kind of market, because that's an in-campus model, and that's a very students aspiration dependent model, right. And I think these are two different models that you are kind of referring to. Was this a compulsion that made you to start looking at the student at class say 11th, 12th onwards, or or you thought that this is something that could significantly affect your customer acquisition cost as you go along, right? What was the thought? Because I mean the way you tackle both of these are very different, and you know what I mean, right? I think when you're talking about 11th, 12th test prep, that's a massively overly funded, bombarded segment, right? I think there is, everybody's fighting for literally that inch that you spoke of early on, right? So, how's that piece been? I mean, what made you do, for example?
It's a kind of busy question you are saying, Ashu, is an interesting thing. So, see, compulsion not there. As I mentioned earlier, like earlier we were doing everything in terms of content, because we had partnership with all the publishers. We had access to all kind of content, and we didn't know what will click faster. So we had all content, and we got traffic. We are getting a lot of organic traffic coming to our platform. So when we pivoted, and when we focused more on higher education side, so we realized like then this got validated when I spoke to Czech guys also.
Right.
So that content become your organic acquisition strategy at early levels. So you don't have to spend a lot. And we are not going into, as you mentioned, we are not going into path of test prep as a company.
Right.
We are there for them as a content platform only.
Right.
So it becomes like they become comfortable with us. They have become habitual of buying, coming and copy kitab for whatever relevant content they need to have. And having done that, that's why it is also helping us now knowing the market pretty decently in terms of seasonality. Right. Education is pretty seasonal business, right?
Yeah.
And your business seasonality of different examinations.
Right.
So for engineering guys would have 2 semesters in a year. MBA guys would have 2 semesters in a year. CA or CS guys would have different examination schedule.
Right.
And then you have 11th and 12th.
Right.
Easier part of 11th, 12th is, for example, larger part of the country is covered with CBSE.
Right.
You don't have to do a lot in terms of content, right? You have all the top publishers, you have all the relevant content for them, trying to write from solutions, question answers, previous question papers, textbooks, everything, reference books.
Right.
You have access of all that, so kids would come for that. You are acquiring them organically, and then you are showing them path.
Right.
That okay, I am there for your whole college life.
Right.
And in between of that, we realize like what are their pain areas and what they want to have.
Right.
So we are better prepared of when we are landing. And there are companies who are solving the problems which we don't want to. Somebody would be solving to get them into college campus, for example.
Right.
Somebody want them to have tutor for 11th, 12th. It's fine.
Right. I think I like the way how you're cutting it, Sumit. I think I like the way how you're cutting it. You're saying that, listen, I had a publisher, right, who's doing stuff anyway, right? And I'm just making it available. I mean, what you do it for is your call. My job is to make it available, right? And I think that's essentially how you kind of dissected the market for yourself, right? Without necessarily saying that, is this going to be for a competitive environment or whatever? Here is material, here is the student, it's available. Go figure, right? I think that's essentially. Is that how
go figure? And it's like that's where we use AI for that issue. That in terms of likelihood of like, I'll give example of top of the some geography people go for RD Sharma, for example, mathematics. Some geography people go to for RS Agrawal, right? Or somebody is looking for Renan Martin to learn English.
Yeah.
So they can relate themselves with those kind of authors and content, even parents for that sake.
Right.
So one side is content is there, and I am getting deeper and deeper inside about the student. So I am giving that relevancy and a small nudge through my AI tool that okay, when this kid is coming from this geography,
right?
Say let me give you example for Bhopal. So Bhopal kid is coming from I know from his traffic analysis that okay, I'm getting traffic from Bhopal and this grade and this curriculum, CBSE for example, not IB or not state board. So I know Bhopal kids are looking for what, and it is readily available on the rack for him at much affordable price.
Very interesting. Right.
Had he gone for buying a real book or photocopy that book, it would have been costlier to him.
Right.
So my job became his job became easier to search for something. He doesn't have to go to a market, new market or old city. Example, giving example of Bhopal, so you can relate. So in that sense, that accessibility and affordability comes into picture for Bharat. And I acquired a student. He or she is coming to buy something. So I'm acquiring, and still they are paying. I'm not paying extra thing to acquire them on the platform.
Right.
So that is one part is happening, and then seasonality of CBSE kicks off post Diwali season typically.
Right.
So I know this is what seasonality would be there.
Right.
Parallelly, then Diwali, one month after Diwali, your even semester exams starts off in engineering and management colleges.
Right.
So my team is ready for that vertical differently. So that is happening there. And then when you all the 9-10 months you are busy with this stuff, you have content for competition, but you are not test prep company.
Right.
But I have content from Arians and Upkars and Dishas of the world. And I have all Pratyukta Darpan, everything is there for content. And these kids go out to look for that content, whichever geography they are sitting in. For example, Patna is one of the highest traffic city for us in tier 2 cities.
Right.
So these kids are looking for that stuff, and they don't want to search around there, and they don't want to call their friends in Delhi. Okay, when you're going to Mukherjee Nagar, get me this tech from this coaching class.
Right.
So they're getting everything accessible there, and it is on the click for them, and that is a lean season for us when competitions are happening.
Right.
Or academic session wise, for all the students base we have. So these same students are going to appear for some exams.
Right.
And they're looking for some guides from some publishers, some resources from some publishers. So it is readily available for them. And they have the practice tests. They have some practice tests, because if you see in test prep, Ashok, very few companies, despite getting so much funded, very few companies were able to monetize it.
Right.
So there's so much content is there, but people don't want to pay for it, right?
Right.
So when you have to just engage them, just slightly nudge them that, okay, buddy, this is branded content available for you, which he or she is ready to pay for it, right? And they don't mind for it.
No, I think I kind of completely agree with you. Right? I think there are a lot of people who are trying to recreate the environment of content, right? And I mean, I mean, there are some good cases around it, and there are some people who are just replicating it purely. I mean, I think it's just replicating it, right? And I think what you're highlighting, right? And I'm actually, while you're saying all of what you're saying, Sumit, I'm also thinking of my school days, right, and my college days, right? And you're absolutely right. I think it was a very teacher dependent thing, right? So there were teachers who were very comfortable, for example, an R.D. Sharma, right? And there were certain teachers who were very comfortable with an R.S. Agrawal, and and many others that we had, right?
Manjeet
There was
Singh.
Manjeet
Manjeet
Singh,
Singh.
there was chemistry,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of that which is available, right? And the teachers
Sareen
had
and
the comfort.
Sareen. Yeah, yeah.
So I think there was a very natural influence which was, which essentially moved. And I still remember, we used to carry those, five, six, seven books, right? We were in the prep sort of an area, right? And I think even for example, content was available, I think our natural reference was that branded content, because essentially we as students could relate with the thought process of the teacher, right? And then that became a natural sort of corollary, right, in terms of consumption. So I think I kind of agree with what you're trying to highlight.
I
So
quickly
I
add
want
on one point.
please.
Sorry to interrupt you. I quickly add in one more point, which I missed earlier. Actually, in terms of content, if you see historically, lot of companies burnt huge money despite getting funded and creating their own content, thinking I'll change everything and disrupt everything.
Right.
Versus same publisher invest, every publisher invests same kind of energy and bandwidth for developing each of the new titles, and still each of the titles doesn't become rockstar.
Right.
So when you have selection of rockstar with you versus trying to create your own content,
Right.
so it becomes more attractive for our target users, and for us as a company, we are not investing and we are not burning cash to build my own content, assuming that this will work as a rockstar.
Right.
So this really helped us, rather than burning cash over there, we focus more on engagement side in similar point of time.
Very interesting. Sumit, I have a question around your partnerships, right? Now, typically, what has happened is there are many people I've personally known many people, and I've been in this ecosystem for a very long time. Who've tried to actually reach out to publishers and try to build relationships with them, right? Where I think the normal course of conversation was that we should partner and we're going to be distributing, and so on and so forth, right? And of course, then the models continue to sort of evolve and change, right? But many people have tried this particular bit, right? Two questions, right? What made you crack it? Right, that's number one. Number two, are these exclusive partnerships that you have with them, or these are things that are available for everybody, right? And today, a lot of these publishers now have online teams which are actually going out and listing a lot of this stuff over, say, on Amazon and in many other marketplaces, right? These are books that are available, right? So tell me a little more about it. So are these exclusive relationships that you have? I mean, what made you crack these relationships? Second, are these exclusive relationships, or are they available for many others out there in the market?
So to answer that question, Ashu, first part is what help us to crack the market. So number one is, I would say, perseverance. Having worked in FMCG and road mein jute ghiso wala jo exposure
I know
tha.
what you mean. Yeah.
And fortunately, it came back to me because I got spoiled after working in luxury industry. But
Right.
I knew that I have to, if I'm starting something different in this industry, I have to work extra hard for that, because
Right.
convincing publisher, it is their lifelong asset, their
Correct.
IP, which they are known for. Their grandfather, their father would have created, and they are still making money out of those titles.
Right.
So it is a long-term investment they have made, and which is very close to their heart. So it is very trust-based industry.
Right.
They have to have very high level of interest and then trust.
And can I add a point to it? Right? I think while you say that, right, I think also the fact, I think a lot of these publishers have been very traditional in their mindset, right? And I think they've been extremely comfortable in their roles, right? Because there were models that are established, right? I don't think there was any incentive for them to, at that point of time, around the time I think you were building this, right, for them to get out of that zone and start thinking that online could be big. I think it's only now that they've started to realize that online is important.
Yeah, earlier they used to go to Frankfurt Book Fair, which is like called Makkah of publishing, for example.
Right.
So they used to see digital is happening across the globe, but they were not so sure because concern was losing their IP.
Right.
That it should not become another MP3 CD set selling in front of each of the campuses.
Right.
Like it happened to early days of music industry,
Right.
not early days, like last decade of music industry.
Right.
So they were a little bit skeptical about going digital. So and then they didn't want to go their bestsellers in the first place for that sake.
Right.
So it took them some time, but yeah, I was fortunate. I was able to convince them. With us, a lot of company came in our time itself,
Right.
trying to convince them and getting their content, but that they were not so sure of giving to so many people. A lot of them got our tech platform audited to check our technology stack, how secure it is, so
Right.
that they can give their content to Copy Kitab. And then third thing is that they were not sure of how the sales would come.
Right.
The couple of concerns they had, and then what kind of revenue they would be having. Even if I give you, so I have to evolve. I have to work on this whole mathematics on their margins, how much they make, and how much their expectation would be. So getting that kind of content return for them, return of investment would be enough for them or not. And lot of them, after testing these earlier days with their smaller titles, and some of them gave their best sellers in the first beginning itself. Like some of them were very positive. They said, Sumit, if my best sellers you are not able to sell, then you can't sell anything.
Right.
Or other stuff. So these mixed kind of things were there, and a couple of them, one particular publisher, Ashu won't believe, I visited 100 times. I told him, I told him today I'm there at 100 times, and you just tell me you're giving me say yes or no, not like Sumit ji next time. I'm going to do with you only, but next time. Abhi ye ho gaya, abhi wo ho gaya type. So I had that, that, but I said, मैं छोड़ूंगा नहीं.
Right.
So I visited 100 times, and that 100 days, I told him this is my 100th visit to you, and in last 6 months, and I'm skipping the calls, and so he signed off the agreement.
Right.
And there were a lot of incidences were there where people signed the agreement, but still they're not getting the content to us. Then there were incidences where people didn't have even soft copies for the bestsellers.
Right.
It was, old style of plates and offset, and it's been getting printed whenever demand comes up.
Right.
So all those challenges were there, but we were able to solve that, and that helped us as a company to create our unique space. And a lot of publishers started using our white label platform to sell their own content.
Right.
So parallelly, we created a moat over there.
Right.
That people have higher trust on our technology, and even somebody is trying to deploy overseas library, they're using CopyKitab platform. And if you go to their own website, also when you click on ebook, it's coming through powered by CopyKitab.
Right.
The top publishers. So that's how my focus was. I'll go to first the top publishers, so that I don't have to answer this question or kitno ne sign kiya hai,
right,
or kisne sign kiya. I used to face this question always.
Right.
So after having, अब ये रहता है मेरी टीम का आंसर कि कौन नहीं है, आप ये मत पूछो कौन है, कौन नहीं है आप ये पूछो.
Right.
So it has changed. So now I speak to all these guys because they are good friends. We are in touch, but unfortunately I'm not able to meet them so often the way I used to. So that is personal, myself going fine tuning everything what they're asking for, taking immediate decision. That helped me to crack that, and I was fortunate, to be honest. These people trusted me. So I earned their trust, and that's why developed a lot of good friends. We had this chemistry, so that worked for me. Number two, about exclusivity, Ashu. So they were a bit submissive about writing on paper,
right?
Because just on our time, Flipkart was there. Flipkart was there with a product, if you remember, called Flight.
Right.
So they had this experience, Flipkart going to the market with this fat agreement and asking them to sign off exclusivity, right? And they're a bit apprehensive about that.
Right.
So this industry runs on trust, because publisher, author takes royalty on trust. There's nothing, you don't know how much books being sold off.
Right.
So a lot of things goes on trust. So people were a bit apprehensive, but yes, I got my agreement again prepared from one of the publishers who was a lawyer also.
Right.
So he helped me to look from their perspective. So I never had so much back and forth on agreement side. It was very simplistic agreement, and very few people know publishing industry is exempted from stamp duty.
Right.
So we have this psychology that every agreement has to be on stamp paper.
Right.
But when industry is exempted from stamp paper, you don't have to. You can have an agreement on a simple piece of paper.
Right.
So whatever I learned, I kept doing with it fast. And my biggest strike was one day signing 8 publishers.
Right.
The biggest day in my life, like one single day, I signed off with 8 publishers.
Wow.
Myself going to the market, running here and there, hopping in Delhi, and all that stuff. So it is non-exclusive. I should answer your question, but having so many 3, 4, 5 years, still they haven't signed up with so many people.
No, I think also the fact that you've empowered them. I think something that you highlighted, and I think my recommendation, right? While I hear you, I think you should talk a lot about it, right? Is that you've actually become a partner for them, not just, for example, from selling to a B2C environment, but a neutral environment that you're giving to them, but also the fact that you're empowering them to go out and sell to the world, right? I think is a phenomenal piece, right? Because it strengthens your relationship at a very different level, right? And I think while the B2C platform continues to sort of operate the way it does, I think the fact that you are their technology provider, and their sales now are kind of say happening through that platform, and I think 2020 is kind of has made it very, very critical for all of these offline players to sort of be on a platform. I think it's just a it's a very different kind of relationship, and I think that's really a moat in the process, right? Exclusivity, no
Yes, you're
exclusivity.
right.
I think in general, I think when you're talking about the publishing industry, and I think India in general, I think businesses in the offline segment are not necessarily always sure if they want to sign exclusivity agreements or not, right? I think they
Yeah,
always want options open, right? They don't want to get tied down to say one particular clause, and I think that's also right because India is a very complex market in that sense, right? You can't have one person to be doing say the entire sales bit for you, right? And I think I kind of understand where you're coming from. Uh, you know, Sumit, tell me a little more about the business model, right? How has the business model evolved from when you started to now, right? How has the business model evolved?
so as I mentioned earlier, a bit of that, Shub. So earlier we started, for example, B2B. Then we decided to pivot ourselves into B2C.
Sure.
And in B2C also, we got more consumer centric as a company.
Right.
Earlier, consumer was institute. Now our consumer is end consumer.
Right.
So, and we already had so much insight about geographies, relevancy, curation,
Right.
everything. So we
Right.
started working towards that and on content layers. When I said content layer, it could be text, as I mentioned, like all sort of content. It could be video, text, MCQs, guides,
Right.
or any kind of content is there, or even test prep MCQs. So we learned that this is what is requirement of the market in geographies and institution wise, and we start building more on user acquisition side. So while doing that, we build more and more on engagement side now.
Right.
So model is evolved from different layers of content, from institution to B2C, and then B2C when our customers started driving us for their requirements. For example, one group of students requested, sir, can we have a peer-to-peer group where we can discuss amongst ourselves, and
Right.
we can exchange what we are studying from, and we created for them. So it becomes
Right.
very huge, and we'll be scaling up that module after we have done piloted already from
Right.
students. So now it's like dorm days. You're in a hostel and discussing before किसको आ गया
Right.
कौन समझाएगा मेरे को ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा
Right.
types. So when you have peer to peer, the technology is enabling that, and
Right.
geographically you can do it. You can have a community.
Right.
Two is 2020 Jan. I was in two campuses, Manipal, Jaipur, and Delhi Tech University.
Right.
And I was talking to students in their canteens and all that, like what they're looking for, how they like Copygraph
Right.
products, everything. And they said like, sir, we have everything in terms of, but we still struggle to get a good teacher
Right.
in a couple of subjects.
Right.
So we have to take tuitions. So I know that like in small towns, still a huge demand area. You go to Indore, Bhopal, or Hyderabad. Anywhere you
Right.
go, you would see those boards of higher education subject teachers.
Right.
People don't know. People assume that only K-12 have teachers. Higher education doesn't have teacher.
Right.
But it's a huge market. You would know that because you're from Bhopal. So you would see an MP a lot of holdings are of engineering, mathematics, and all that. So
Right.
you would see that. So, why I'm saying so, because I have spoken to people who belong to bigger cities, for example, and they don't know if this is a real requirement of tutor in higher education.
Right.
But here, my students are asking for
Right.
that. So, in terms of business model, when they ask me this stuff, I said, fine, let us raise this year capital in later part of the year,
Right.
and we'll launch because you need bandwidth.
Right.
And then come COVID before that.
Right.
March, it was everywhere. And it forced us to think, hard think about that. Shall we prepone everything? Then we thought about two models.
Right.
One is we can partner with coaching classes because we thought we have this strength as a B2B company
Right.
earlier. So we know how to reach out to people, convince them, and get stuff on the platform. And we spoke to 200 coaching classes in
Right.
1 month's time. And every coaching class owner said, yes, we need tools and we need a platform to teach. But nobody was very clear that what they want, and they were
Right.
still expecting that COVID will be over in 2-3 months. So I need
Right.
just stopgap solution.
Right.
So when we thought of like, then we said like, okay, it's a lot of guys asking for this support, but everybody wants different kind of product. So we
Right.
don't want to be SaaS company
Mhm.
because it will take away from what the business we are going after. Then we thought like, let's focus on B2C because we are already going that and adding one more layer where they are missing
Right.
the tutors. And for us in this thing, it will make sense when we are having students coming already for the content. We have
Right.
to upsell the services.
Right.
And again, I'll give example. Having spoken to those Western companies, their founders, they said, Sumit, you're right, you're on right trajectory because you're not investing on acquiring user and your bottoms up approach like we did, and you're already acquiring at economy with content, and you have to upsell the services with higher margins.
Right.
So you have high LTV, high CAC, right? And this is what I thought of. This is what me and Amit discussed about. Like we'll have high CAC, high LTV, adding services on product. So this is evolved as like, right from all kind of content to problem solving tutors. Then after doing that, we launched in October, Ashu.
Right.
Tutor vertical.
Right.
And we are really proud of that. Like, we had good decent engagement. Kids were coming to us, and November we thought like, a lot of freebies being thrown in market from tech companies.
Right.
And we at this juncture, we should not we should not go for freebies. We should go for monetization. We have to see really people want to pay for it or not.
Right.
And from November to March financial closing, we grew double digits every month.
Wonderful.
We doubled our revenue that month.
Right.
So it gave us validation and confidence that, okay, we can do that. We can upsell services to our existing users. Right. And our employees can work on continuation because we know their behavior. And if you put money there, and then we also focus after checking the behavior on teachers, we focus that, okay, we will not get a teacher,
right,
which is less than 10 years of experience.
Right.
He or she could be from industry, or he or she could be from teaching institution. So, for example, MSCT, we picked up a couple of teachers. We picked up from SGITS Indore, teachers from NITs. So, our target was like, as I gave you example, ki whatever subjects we are good at, because we had a good teacher.
Right.
So, same analogy we used in this thing. We should have good teacher because this is what they are not getting in the campus or wherever, whichever city they belong to. Right. And we should be able to give them what they're looking for. So their life should become easier. That, okay, why I never thought that integration or differential was so easy.
Right.
It was like rocket science for me earlier.
Right.
So same thing applies in engineering also. Like a lot of subjects are tough. If you're an electric engineer, machines is tough for you. First year, a lot of students are not able to visualize engineering drawing, for example. So they lose marks in that. So likewise, depends on subjects. We thought like, we start feeding these students. And let's see when they're coming back to us and getting on this. And now going forward, having students, so it's an offshoot of the same tutor vertical. Right. We have added that because this is again demand from our consumer, which is campuses.
Right.
Campuses are closed, but they are struggling for placement. And we had this presence on campuses. So now placement officers want us to teach their students those subjects.
Right.
Which will help them to get placed in the campuses. Because everybody talks about that, okay, system is broken, graduates are not so employable, but what somebody is doing, somebody is trying to have a crash course for them when they pass out, and then they try to have crash course so that they get placed. Versus we have this opportunity, we are already there in the campuses, and we can have students, and we know what geography or what location this campus in and what are their weaknesses. And we as a startup think are always when we go to campus for hiring, that if I hire a fresher, then I have to handle him for 6 months.
Right.
And then he or she will be able to perform as per. So what I do, I typically don't take their technical, if I'm going to smaller campuses, not the tier ones. So I don't take their technical interview.
Right.
What I do, I take their reasoning aptitude test. Then if this student is coachable or not. And then my submission would always be 6 months मैं सिखाऊंगा इसको, and I'm not sure if he or she picks up or likes that or not.
Right.
That because they're getting jobs, okay, I'll jump into big data, but I might not like it. I might like Python, or I like digital marketing. So for this, we have this advantage that, when we are in campuses, we'll be having these students and we'll be analyzing them and then recommending them, okay, this is the course you can choose and this is the career you can choose from by psychometric test, and they can pick up their choose and we can handle them. So by the time they are graduating, industry have ready-made stuff for them, for freshers.
Interesting.
And as per NASSCOM, 67% jobs in next 3 to 4 years would be coming from entry-level engineering engineers. So we'll have these kids ready, who are readily placeable, and we have partnership HR companies who would be giving us database that they are looking for this kind of hire. They have their forecast from industry. That what kind of hiring would be happening for freshers this year, on what technology, what platform. So we can readily place them. So it's win-win for everyone. Again, like as we always think about win-win for everyone. So win-win for us, win-win for college, and win-win for students.
Sumit, I'm, while I hear you, right, I think, one thing which is very kind of, surprising and so difficult, right, to kind of navigate. How do you differentiate yourself, right? Because, every model that you look at from a certain distance, right, and especially when you're looking at a B2C environment, right, you know, it becomes very difficult as a viewer from a distance to differentiate, who's offering what, right? Because it seems everybody's essentially fighting for the same space, right? So
Yeah,
while you could have a foot in the door, there could be somebody else who's going out and bombarding with, say, freebies, more content, creating an impression and creating a brand and so on and so forth, right? How do you kind of preserve your turf in a case like that, right? Because doesn't that makes it a very complicated position for you as a founder, right? Because here are certain companies that have been overly funded, right? Right, and essentially are trying to solve many problems through money, which possibly somebody who's built for efficiency, or where efficiency is at a design level, it becomes difficult for them to navigate through those waters, right? What are your thoughts about that?
so you're very right, Ashok. Yes, you are there when people perceive that you're in the same space and competing with those deep-pocketed companies, well-funded companies. There are a couple of things in there. One is, Ashok, our biggest moat is knowing our user.
Right.
We don't claim we have used AI, we have used big data. We know
Right.
our user in and out. Number one. Number two, we are not offering supplement to start with. We are offering which is their must have for their learning path.
Right.
Right. That is two. And three is despite you would see so much noise around so many things happening in the market. Very few companies would be there who are doing purely through e-commerce.
Right.
They are knocking the doors, huge army of salespeople, and pushing sales and all that stuff,
Right.
which is not happening in copy. So it doesn't worry us, because when we see our engagement matrices, when we see not having spent so much on our branding, but our user knows us. So for
Right.
example, out of 40 million, if I have user base of 8 million people have downloaded my app, right, and 6.1 million registered users, I have 72% returning user base. I have I have close to 4 million monthly active users on my platform. I have 1.34 million people who are spending more than 25 minutes per visit per session. Session. It's not monthly matrices. A lot of company gives you number of monthly matrices. You can add up. I'm saying per visit per session, because it's seasonal business, 90 days window for each of the consumer because of exams, 3 months exam. And then they're coming back to you and spending so much time on the platform. So my worry at this level is that how I keep them engaged and how to upsell them. My worry is not that some company has so much money and they'll bombard. And our already we have the sweet spot, higher education. I'm not in K-12, that so much crowded space, and people have so much money and they're doing beautiful job there.
Right.
But I'm not in their space. I'm in totally different, I would say, universe.
Right.
Where you hardly would count, other than test prep, you would, or test prep or upskilling companies.
Right.
A test prep company acquiring new user every year, upskilling company who are acquiring graduates every year. You hardly found recollect any company in higher education space.
Right.
And while in that aspect, we have created that mode because I know my user.
Right.
I have relevant content, curated content for them, and then I have relevant curated feature for them. So they don't have to look around. Only thing I have to invest upon when I raise more and more capital to keep them engaged, keep them upsell, and increase my ARPU on that side.
Right.
So it becomes much easier for me as a company, if I think as a founder, that how I'll increase my revenue or my top line. That because I have a user base, I have to upsell them and I have to offering services what they were looking for. I'm not saying, hey kid, take something which will change your life.
Right.
I'm offering them what they really need and they don't have access of.
Interesting.
So this helps us as a company, to grow. And as I said, like couple of companies you could see in global arena, which are similar to us, like Chegg. It became a unicorn and public traded company. Code Zero, again, it's user. Then there's a company two companies in UK who are just doing a part of content, only textbook and homework help. They have raised like $20 million recently, which validates their model. The company in Australia are doing Zookle, called Zookle, raised decent capital and doing Australian Southeast Asia for content. And we are also getting, interestingly, when I talk about organic traffic, we get close to 5 to 6% traffic coming from overseas, from Southeast Asian market or a Middle East market or African market. We haven't gone there so far. So these are the people who are hungry for stuff, and India's identity of good technical know-how and right from platforms to teaching stuff and then content. India export publishing industry would know export a lot of content to African and Middle East market. So I have these markets ready, and organically I'm getting customers coming from these market, and I have to capitalize on them. So that shows that like people have this convincing thing on Copykeeda platform. They're coming and not being bombarded by some army of person to sell them something, and they're comfortably buying and bundling products. So what we are doing, we are making their life more easier now on. They can have unlimited access of like OTT platform. So you can have a very minuscule money as small as 199 rupees per month kind of money, and you can have access of unlimited access of content on Copykeeda platform, whatever layer you want to pick and choose from, right from tutor to basic notes to textbooks to videos.
Sumit, I have many questions on that line, but I think there is paucity of time, and I think we need to. I have two other questions, right? Which was the end of the conversation, right? Sumit, many models are coming up on campus, right? You have Coursera for Campus, which is now coming in. When they're actually going out and partnering with many campuses, right? And they're saying that of course, while you do your regular stuff, you can now build a lot of other you can basically learn many more things, right, as per your liking, right? And that is something which, and these are pieces that are getting very well blended into the curriculum that is offered by, say, colleges, universities, all of that, right? And possibly they're also offering many very focused modules, right, which are essentially within the curriculum piece as well, right? Do you think that is emerging competition for you, or do you think they are tackling a very different problem, right, vis-a-vis what you are doing? What are your thoughts about that?
See, what happens, Ashok, usually companies strategize, and any company, whether it's Coursera, edX, or anything, you would have heard that edX,
Right.
Harvard, and these universities are going away from edX. But point is, every company has their own strategy and go-to-market thing,
Right.
and they plan around what they have on this
Right.
thing. There are two kind of learning, which is active and passive. So passive learning is that you have all the content available, you can access and learn from it, whether you have
Right.
textbooks or videos, and you are not short of any kind of, you don't have any dearth of any videos out there from YouTube to different channels. And since universities have their own channels and platforms, even IITs in India have given so much content to online right from childhood days, from UGC coming on Doordarshan versus, so you have so much of passive content available.
Right.
But is it solving kids? One problem is solved, that okay, if somebody wants to study, they can access that content from whatever platform they want to, and they are B2C companies majorly. So on B2C module, you already have access of that content. You're not short of that. In active, again coming back to inactive kind of module, where you have a teacher also involved in teaching you over here. But again, the problem would be, as I mentioned, like, if one teacher or some particular teacher is good in all the subjects, or geography wise, it is different kind of thing. Whether it's language barrier is there, whether it's regional language barrier, then the quality of teacher. Teacher, all teachers good, but I'm saying some teachers are very good into teaching. That's why we get hooked with, and some teachers not so good teacher.
Right.
So understanding this thing, I think competition wise, if it comes and it gets more into campuses, it's good for us, because if somebody teaches them and made them educated about using this platform, more people would come on us also, that they will find that now Copykeeda has more personalized thing for me available, versus first they get interest on online thing, and then so whole pie going to be expanded, as I mentioning earlier, that like how big is the market. So pie is going to be expanded. So if everybody invest on things in that, it is more than $1 trillion market in India. Already we are doing EdTech, like last year we did 700 to $800 million. And we are looking like India would be in a couple of years would be $1 trillion, and we are far back from US and developed markets already. So consumer behavior changes, and these companies are going to campuses, good for everyone actually. For Copykeeda per se, I would say we already created moat. And I was talking to one overseas venture capitalist other day, and he was saying, Sumit, I say like China is big and India is haze. Because so why India is haze? Because it's a kind of dipping into haystack. And haystack wise, you cannot do everything in India without having somebody who knows the local market.
Right.
So for that is the advantage we do have. And there is a moat we have. We know the campuses, we have relevancy, we have curation, and we know what is required by the student. And that's why I said like we have everything what they need for, versus creating out of something which I have to show to their source. So any company comes in, they have potential probability of partnering with us, or they go by themselves. and then everybody wins out of it. And as they said, you would be hearing a lot of things. Now it's time for more and more collaboration also.
Right.
So, for example, we have collaborated 2 US companies who are into cybersecurity teaching and investment banking teaching and business analytics teaching.
Right.
So nobody's teaching those kind of subjects in India. So we are there, and we have better quality because people are there from already PhDs and all that who are teaching their stuff. So we keep building the quality and keep building what our students are looking for. So we don't have to become a me too kind of thing. As you would have heard of Simon Sinek, like it started with why. So our why is different. So we are not starting from how and what, then going to why. Here our why is different. We are solving real problem where students really feel like problem, and then understanding them what we offer after why. That's how we come how, and then we comes out what we are offering and all that stuff.
Right.
So that's why we take in same sequence on that side.
Interesting. Sumit, one very, very large opportunity that is emerging is essentially Bharat, right? Now, I think most of the edtech companies that you look at are essentially all geared and designed for urban markets, right? And when I say urban markets, it's basically the top cities, the cosmopolitans, the metropolitans, and then of course the state capitals, and typically some business hubs, right? So, for example, say Indore would qualify, right? And Jaipur, being the state, and say other such regions would qualify, right? So typically, most of these companies are essentially geared towards all of that, right? And of course, they're slowly and steadily building their depth in the Bharat ecosystem as well, right? But Bharat is an ecosystem which is not, not as savvy, for example, right? And the aspirations are very different. Exposure is very different. Of course, COVID has changed some of that, right? Which essentially means there's going to be a big opportunity for many of these companies to seep into that market, right? So say a Bhilai for that matter, a Vidisha, Sihor, in many of these cities, right? And they're going to be there. They're either there already, some of them, or they're going to be there very, very soon, right? Now, what I understand is that Bharat requires a vernac understanding, right? All right. For your model is very different. You essentially, while you have a B2C model, and you have essentially kind of built a very strong relationship with existing brands, right? To kind of piggyback yourself into that the markets that you're in. What is your plan for Bharat, right? I mean, are you already there? And are you going to be in the 1x space? What are some of the things that you're doing to tackle Bharat, right? Because that's going to be a very large opportunity for pretty much everybody in the edtech space, right? Irrespective of whichever way they sort of dissect the market, it is going to be the massive opportunity, right? How are you looking at that? And second, is vernac? How are you tackling for vernacular? Characteristics that are required for that market.
So I'll answer your second question first,
Sure.
Ashu. Vernac, we are already doing 13 languages on our platform. As I said, because knowing the market and geography individually, so it was very important and essence of the business model that we have to give what they are looking for. Sure. So same thing applies to content, same thing applies to tutors also. So when we keep this thing in mind, so we are already doing that on our platform. So our Vernac are doing it. That includes even Sanskrit and Urdu.
Wow.
So we are doing that. Coming back to your first question about Bharat. So Bharat, Ashu, Bharat is nowadays new term coined, but it's nothing new for FMCG industry. Right. Because FMCG industry grew from electronics also for that sake, from rural India. We used to call rural India. That was not so marketing as Bharat and all that stuff. So I have seen that days when Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola, and then 5 rupee coin. You remember Shekhar Shukman selling, because everybody want to have a taste of that 5 rupee Coke. So that people taste what Coke is. So that's where and that's where regional marketing happened that point of time with different people, tried with different geography, different celebrities also. And remember the early days of strong ad of strong Pepsi, Meetha, and Coke with thumbs up with strong Shah Rukh Khan ad. Yeah. So that is something related to rural economy over there that time. That point. So I knew that, and this is where that's why we're getting 67% traffic coming from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because you're right, COVID has changed, and but in addition to that, aspirations are high. Nobody is alienated to, at least somebody who's studying in schools or colleges, they are not alienated to using technology or mobile phone at least. And things are, and Amit, my co-founder, always says it's harder to make simpler technologies, right? So we already believe then that keeping in mind coming ourselves from a smaller town, as I mentioned, so we always kept in mind how a smaller town guy would use our product. It hasn't to be so sound like Greek to him, like you do this, do that, and the 5 steps check in and then 5-step check out.
Right.
So we always kept this in mind, and then now it is evolved as a huge opportunity everybody's talking about. But we already capturing, when with 67% traffic is already capturing on that target. That's why I like top 20 cities. If you see on Copy the platform, you already mentioned those towns names like Jaipur, Lucknow, Indore, Bhopal, Patna.
Right.
So those are towns we are already getting decent traffic, and people don't know brand in general. From marketing, we don't have TV ads, but this number is like out of 40 million, if 8 million have downloaded, you can see the market size we have captured.
Right.
It's now for us, as I said, like challenge would be having it as a keep on close tab on what our consumer is going after.
Right.
You keep working towards that. You don't lose the sight. And number two, upselling and going on bigger ARPU is the key thing for us as a company, and that includes creating branding, creating like and branding. I think this is one of the biggest learning in my second job of the company. Like first you need to have penetration and this thing, then you do branding and brand building stuff, because ROI nobody is able to calculate till date, like what is ROI of spending on marketing and advertising. So so this is what we are looking at actually.
Some very interesting points, Sumit. We're towards the end of the conversation, Sumit. I have thoroughly enjoyed my conversation. And honestly speaking, every single conversation that I've been having, right, with many founders and many professionals, right. Personally, and given it's a digital environment, I typically want these conversations to go on, right, for a much longer time. I think we'll save that for the next time. My last question to you, Sumit, is what are the next 2 years for Copy Kitab, right? I would have ideally wanted 5 years, given that you're an FMCG guy, right? But I think that's too short a while now. I think nobody. I mean, I think it's too difficult to predict 5 years, right? I think it's a very dynamic environment. I think it's a 2 year. I think 2 years would be the new 5 years, right? On that in terms of scale, right? But what are the next 2 years like, right? What are some things that are excited? You are excited about. Your team is excited about.
See, number one is we want to maintain our dominance in higher education sector. That is number one priority. We have to keep maintaining that. And more importantly, while doing that, and besides overseas ambitions we do have, because we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of partnership approaches been there from Africa and Middle East markets. Number one goal for us is like we keep building beautiful technology, which keeps our students and our target users engaged a lot. And nobody minds paying you for that, because now affordability and payment is not an issue. People want to have good product and good services, and we want to just keep focusing on what they're going after, and we should be ready for them, whatever they are seeking for, from Copy Kitab platform. We just keep focusing on our students. So it's easy to say, like if you ask me in numbers, like we have to X number of users. We do typically our business plan, like we'll have X number of paid users, X number of users, and all that stuff. But that is the key. We just keep that is matrices side, I would say. We keep chasing matrices for business purpose, commercial purpose. But the core purpose, as I said, like that what we exist for as a company. So the reason why we exist, we just want to keep addressing that, and we will keep hitting our matrices the way we do. And on the path, even if it's comes to in commercial terms, scaling the numbers, X number, Y number, or $1 million revenue per month, or $1 trillion company, whatever it can be. But if you just focus on case basic thing, you keep getting your matrices for sure.
Interesting.
So we just want to be the dominant company, number one company in higher education, and keep solving the problem what we target upon as our user base, and keep solving their problems. So
very interesting. Sumit, it was a pleasure to have you. I think one thing which is very clear, right? And I think across many of my conversations when I hear you today, right? I think education, right, rather than dissecting it, saying it's higher education or say test prep or whatever, right? I think aspirations kind of changed. I think the aspiration landscape has changed. I think everybody wants to sort of tackle each part of it, right? Because it is so continuous, right? And I think everybody is essentially now thinking of a platform approach. And my sense is, I think the easier way to divide an education market, right, is either you are at war or you're an arms supplier, right? And I think that's a way to better sort of cut it better, right? And I think and we're going to have successes in each of them, right? Till it comes to a point where each one of them want to acquire the other person's market, right? And I think slowly and steadily we're getting into that zone, right? Where like I said, right, the aspiration is becoming much larger, right? And I think the good part is that COVID has fast tracked the adoption of edutech, right? Which essentially means that all these platforms are going to have a deeper understanding of the student. They're going to be far more agile in terms of their offering. Eventually, we'll have a better outcome in terms of the quality and learning of the students, right, across all the categories, right? And that could possibly lead to a very strong foundation of us being a very deeply educated economy, something that we've aspired for the longest time, right? And I think that's possibly going to change the fortune of the country in a very different way, right? Sumit, it was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Same here, Achu. Just quick 2 points. One we can conclude it. Just real few quick points. One is India would be doing same thing in EdTech the way it happened to IT services industry, outsourcing our EdTech services to the world. And two is when we see a lot of things are broken. So technology has this power that what has been missing.
Right.
In terms of what are the gaps and holes were there. So EdTech company is going to solve, which is evolve as a real core of learning, and eventually develop as a it's no more formalized education kind of a certificate thing. A student would have that know-how and they will be ready to explore the world whichever way they want to.
Right.
Be more unformalized education, hybrid models, and informal education would be there.
Right. Interesting. So, Sumit, it was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much for being part of it.
Thanks, Ashu.
Thank you.